Hey guys, how's it going? This is Davin with davindeedoodles, and thank you so much for joining me. Today I have a little bit of a different video for you. I was planning just to do a color and chat, coloring in some beautiful flowers from World of Flowers from Johanna Basford, and that quickly turned into a little bit of a mini haul video. How did that happen? I went to Michael's, and I went with a very specific purpose, and that was to buy these 4 paint tubes. So some of you may know that I actually do enjoy painting. I like to do mostly watercolor paint, but I have recently subscribed to an art box, and they've sent me some, samples of some acrylic paint, and I thought, why not give it a shot? So I went with the idea of buying the 4 soft body Liquitex primary colors so that I can mix my own colors, I can play with it a little bit and not be out a ton of money. I mean, it is a little bit higher quality than, say, the Artist Loft, but to be quite frank, I don't like the Hobby Lobby and Michael's brands for art products. So I went with these guys, and I'm really hoping it's going to be a lot of fun. But that's how I got myself into trouble, because my husband did not come with me into Michael's, and I ended up going towards the clearance section because, you never know what you're going to find on clearance. And that held true for today, because I came back with a haul of these. Now, for those of you that don't know, a lot of you I don't know paint, maybe you do, who knows, but these are actually artist quality brushes for oil painting. It even says it on the brush. They're Winsor & Newton brand, and they are apparently artist grade. They're the top grade that Michael's sells, and they were like $5 a piece. So why did I buy them when I bought acrylic paints? I don't know that there's much of a difference between the oil and acrylic brushes, to be honest with you, but I do have everything needed to also dabble with oil painting. I have the paints, the paint thinner, the canvas. I have everything for oil painting except for oil brushes. So I saw these and I thought, they're $5 a piece, they're really good quality. I might end up using these soon, so I bought them. I bought every one I could find, because literally it was just these sitting in a random bucket in the clearance aisle, so I took them. And I figured, even if I don't end up using them, odds are I will meet someone along the way that does do oil painting and can make use of them, or maybe I can gift them to somebody. They're not going to go to waste, so I bought them. Now these two, however, are watercolor brushes, and this guy here, for those of you that saw my last haul video, is the exact same brand as I purchased for all my other watercolor brushes. So it was only him, and then I had this one, the Grombacher brand, and this one, I think these were both, they're marked as $5, but I'm pretty sure both of these were $3, whereas all of these were $5. So these are really, really good quality watercolor brushes, and I dove at it. I'm definitely going to get use out of these, no question. So I bought these definitely for me, and I bought these possibly as a gift or possibly to use in the future for oil painting. So I'm very happy, and it was the stroke of luck that I came across those. And me being me, I made my usual rounds at Michael's, and this was not all I came back with. So I have my Liquitex paints, I have my lovely paint brushes that I'm going to continue using, and by the way, if you're interested in seeing any of my watercolor stuff, it's not up on YouTube. I've been recently getting back into it. I've just been like painting and practicing, so that's all on my Instagram and Facebook. But I did find these. Now, I am not a person that usually buys expensive things like this on a whim. I have been eyeing these since at least December. They have open stock at Michael's, and every time I see them or every time I walk by, I would play with them, I would like layer them, and I would just have a really good time, and I always wanted them. But they were $90. I couldn't justify buying a 30 set of pencils for $90. So I'm walking by and I see the red tag for the clearance, and they're $40. So I get on Amazon and I check it out, and that's actually $10 cheaper, I believe, than you can find on Amazon. So I grabbed them because I've never used watercolor pencils in my life really, but I like watercolor. You can use them as regular pencils if you want to, and I like colored pencils, so it seems to make sense to me. I mean, it's over half off, so I dove at it, and that's actually what we're going to be doing today. I have some watercolor paper here. I think I'm gonna swatch it out. I'm not gonna do it on camera because the only thing that I would be saying over and over is, oh my god, how pretty, how soft, and look at all the, just look at all the colors. See, I can't think of anything to say. So I'm gonna swatch them off of camera. I will show you what they look like when I'm just coloring and when I've added water to them, because then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start our actual chat and we're gonna apply it to World of Flowers. And I'm not gonna do the entire thing in watercolor. Johanna's books don't handle watercolor that well, so I wouldn't be able to layer and do all that kind of stuff. But I'll be able to play around with it. Some of it will be watercolor, hopefully, and some of it's just gonna be pencil. That's the plan for the week. I hope you guys stick around and get to see just how beautiful these pencils actually are. Alright, so I have everything swatched except for the white because it's white. I put it on my B paper. It's cold pressed and it is textured, so that's why it looks really uneven. I actually don't like this paper very much. It's too textured for what I like to do, but that's why it does look a little cracked and stuff. It's the paper, it's not the pencil. But I do like the range of colors that they do have. They have a ton of blue, which I love blue, so I'm okay with. And even like the warmer colors, they've got a good range here as well. I think this is probably my favorite color. I love this one to death, and it's gonna be so nice for like water and things like that. But everything went down smooth. I was able to get a nice light, medium, and a really dark once I went really hard on the pencils. They are almost chalk-like, but it's not in a bad way. It's going to be very easy for, people to use. I know some people complain about having like hand pain when they color with their pencils. You're not going to have that with these. It's very light to the touch to get a good range and good saturation of color. So what I'm going to try and do now is probably just add a little bit of water to the dark ends and see if I can, move it around, see how it looks. I'm afraid to do it, but let's see. I mean, that's the whole point. They're watercolor pencils, right? So let's zoom in here. Let's start with like the yellows. I'm not even going to do this one because it's so pale you can barely see it anyway. I'm just going to get enough paint or enough water on my brush to kind of dampen it and move it around a little. I'm not even going to go too terribly dark. Okay, but you can already see, oh wow, this is actually pretty cool. Okay. I like this actually. This works better on this paper than my watercolors do. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's go with the darker colors so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna clean my brush a little. I don't want it too wet. I'm just gonna go across, and you can see how it brings the color out, but it also just gives you a nice little gradient, and it fills in the texture on the paper. I think that's my favorite thing about this. This is so pretty. Something else I'm also kind of worried about is if I have too much water on my brush when I do this, I don't want to dilute the color too much. I want it to have that vibrant little pop from the pencil, especially the darker areas, but I don't want it to be totally washed out. Does that make sense? Okay. And it almost does behave like watercolor when you get it wet. It's really cool. Alright, so we got the oranges. Let's go down for like a fuchsia, pink fuchsia. See, this has a lot of water on the brush, and you can see it it moves though. Goodness, I like this. That's really pretty. I love that color. This is a really good set of pencils if you're going to be doing botanicals, which I've been on a flower kick anyway, so it kind of works for me. Let's do this color here. Let's do an actual purple. So see, this is what I was talking about. I didn't clean my brush quite as much for this color, and it's definitely kind of faded out because it looked much deeper before I went over it with the water. but that's okay. Like sometimes it's nice to have a more lavender. All right, let's wipe this one down a bit. Let's go for a blue. Let's do this blue. This is a pretty blue. Slowly go over. This is so nice. I like this a lot, actually. This is going to be a good investment. And I'm wondering, is that still wet? I can't see. I'm wondering if I do this and just kind of like I wonder if I took the pencil. I saw in my little French little packet here, it looks like you can actually wet the pencil and go directly onto the paper. Let's see what my favorite color looks like first. This is gonna be such a good color for like surf, like for water and ocean pictures. It got really washed out though. I have way too much water on my brush for that one. Okay, so let's see what it looks like if I just dip. Let's take a darker color so we can actually see it on the paper. Let's do a dark purple. We're going to dip it in some water because I have my watercolor jar here. I hope I don't destroy the pencil in the process. So I've got water on my pencil and we're just gonna, like, I'm not sure if it's supposed to just be where you can kind of use it now. If you do that, you get a really nice deep color, but I don't know that I like that method. That's probably just me being me, but I don't like that one. It definitely stains when you when you wet it and you wipe it off on your towel or whatever you're using for your watercolors. It definitely stains it. So the last thing I want to see is how they will mix together if I do, like how they'll blend together. Let's do two similar colors. We'll darken it up. Let's see if the blendability, let's see what that looks like. I talk like I know what I'm doing and I have no clue, just so you know. So we have two colors that are very similar. And I'm gonna wipe my brush so it's not quite so dark and heavy with water. Oh, that's cool. That's a nice little gradient. I wonder if it had more water, if it would do better. That's really pretty, actually. You just go up and do the same thing there. I really think the textured paper is kind of messing with it, but I think this will be good to do for our World of Wonders. We just need to be really careful with the amount of water that we apply to it, because I've done watercolor before on World of Wonders and it didn't handle the best. Of course, I had to do like a really light wash for my sharks, but this is what it looks like. You've got all the colors here. You've got some water applied to some of them. It looks really grainy and I don't know why. I can't fix that, I'm sorry. But we're gonna start on a page. Let's take a look and just pick one out. Back it out a little. And we'll see how to go from there. Okay, so I have officially picked out the page we're going to be doing for our little coloring experiment. This is from Johanna Basford's World of Flowers. It is gorgeous, but more importantly, I think it'll work really well for the background and watercolor. I'm just gonna do something really simple. I'm gonna kind of try and do like a pink, or I'm sorry, not a pink, a purple and blue gradient, kind of like we achieved here. It's basically just gonna be me playing around with like a plain background, just with the watercolor, and I'll probably in another video, or maybe I'll just post it on Instagram, finish up with regular color pencils or just dry watercolor pencils for the flowers themselves. I really just want to give it a couple hours to completely dry so we can see what it looks like once all the watercolor's finished, dried, and see how well the book can even tolerate that kind of water. So anyway, that's all said and done. Let's just go ahead and dive into it. So this is gonna take me a while. I might not even show you the full process. It's, you know me, I take forever to do anything. But I'm really hopeful that it's gonna be pretty. And I just have to make myself go slow because this is gonna be one of those things where I immediately like wanna just go in and not do as well as I probably should. So we're gonna zoom in a bit so you can see what corner I'm working in. It's this one here. You can barely even see the color I'm laying down because I really wanna try and layer a bit. But while I work, I figure we can go ahead and do some chatting. It's been a really long time since I talked to you guys, and I probably should. Because for the past 2 weeks, I spent some time in Texas. For those of you that don't know, I live in Louisiana, and we went for vacation in Texas. We went out to, well, first we went to Galveston, and we spent the weekend in Galveston, which was probably not the greatest idea because apparently it was spring break and Galveston was a huge, huge mess. There was people absolutely everywhere because they have something called like a pleasure pier, which sounds a little adult to me, but it's basically like just a regular pier where it has all kinds of games and stuff like that. We did not go. I was not comfortable going because there was like a huge line to get into the place. It looks like you actually have to pay, or maybe they were doing like COVID like screening. I don't know. All I know is there was people absolutely everywhere. So we just pretty much walked along the beach and, you know, we had a good time. We checked the area out because we're going to be moving next year. And we're trying to kind of get an idea of what we would like to request for the move because Anthony is able to put together like, basically they send out a list saying, hey, these are your options. And we would like to have a good idea of, you know, areas we might consider decent. So Galveston is definitely one of those areas. It was very cute. Like I said, there was just a lot of people, but I guess that's kind of what you expect when you're literally on the Gulf. And you have the ocean right there, which, by the way, it wasn't that pretty. But I have the feeling people just kind of go there because it's close and, you know, you can swim there. I wouldn't have gotten in that water. That was really ugly water. But, you know, it's the Gulf. It's close. And there's lots of other stuff you can do at the beach besides just swim. I, quite honestly, wouldn't even swim when I wouldn't even comfortably swim, I should say, when I lived in the Keys, and that was crystal clear water, so you can't take my word for it, but the water was really brown and kind of gross. Now, what I did have a problem with was the hotel we stayed at, and I feel bad saying this, the hotel we stayed at was completely packed, okay, because it was spring break, so they were totally booked, and there was a lady next to us. I believe it was like a single mom. I know she was there at least by herself. And she had at least 3 little kids with her. So all night, I heard shrieking and fighting and screaming, and I don't like kids. I'm gonna be frank. I do not care for children. They make too much noise. They like just irritate me, and it's that kind of thing, you know. It's just a preference. Like, I'm sure if you have kids, they're probably really well behaved, but this lady's children were not. And all I heard all night was screaming and fighting and arguing, and I really just wanted to complain. But I didn't because I kind of understand. She was likely overwhelmed. Her kids were like excitable. They were probably excited to be in a new place, all that stuff. I get it. So I let it go. And even when they woke me up in the middle of the night, or like when I would be trying to nap because I was so tired from work, and they would come in the middle of the day and start shrieking and screaming and all this stuff, I let it go. What I had trouble letting go, however, was there was a balcony that overlooked the pool for our rooms. and there was a divider between the balconies, and there was like a gate on the balcony, obviously, and there was like a cement divider. And it was a very, very tiny gap between the gate and the divider itself. And I'm laying in my room, and I'm just on my bed. I'm trying to get some rest because the sun really takes it out of you. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the sun is exhausting, right? So I'm laying in bed, and I'm just watching TV. I'm listening to these like kids next door throw their fits and just be impossible. And this mom's trying to get them under control. And I hear my balcony door open. And my back is to the door at this point, so I'm not really paying too much attention, but I hear my door open, and then I hear a scream, and I hear it slam shut. And I'm like, what was that? And what it was, because obviously I go to look, because at first I had thought it was just the wind. So I get up and I look. And what it was is probably the youngest kid of this lady had squeezed through that little gap, okay? And he had come into our room, and when he realized I was laying in bed, he screamed and slammed the door shut. So how do I know for sure? Because when I got up, I saw him stuck between the freaking gate and the, and the wall. And I wanted so bad, I mean, you guys honestly don't know, I wanted so bad to snatch him up and like drag him in the room and drag him through the room and just show up at her door pounding on it to know what the hell is wrong with this little kid. But again, I understand children do stupid things, like she probably didn't even know he was out there kind of thing. Like I get it, so I did not complain. I really thought of complaining to the hotel at that point, because that was just kind of like, it was just such an invasion of privacy kind of thing. And I had really gotten paranoid about the idea of like, were they coming in here when we weren't here, because I hadn't been locking that door. And like, I don't think they would have done anything. Like, I'm not trying to accuse them of something, but it's like, you can't do that. Like, it really made me uncomfortable. So I don't know. That was probably the worst part of the Galveston trip. We did spend some time like downtown into their little, real touristy area, and we got some milkshakes, we wandered around, we visited so many antique shops. I had no idea there were so many antique shops. And there was like such cool stuff in them. I found so many Beanie Babies that I ended up buying because, I'm 5 years old. And we actually ended up in an art studio, which I thought was really neat because it was the guy's actual studio. That's like where he went to paint. And you could go upstairs and you could see his setup and you could see his inspirations and his works in progress. So we bought a print because I couldn't afford the actual, art. Though he had one that I really, really wanted. I wish I remembered his name or I had it with me in the room. But I'm pretty sure it's on the bookshelf waiting to be framed. But his stuff was really beautiful. And it's just kind of like, it piqued my interest in the acrylic paints, which is, why I have this whole video going at this point, because I went to the store for acrylic paint. And it's the same type that he said he uses. So it was really interesting just to kind of see another artist like layout and how they work. And he was very laid back, very nice. We chatted with him for a while and then we went on our way. So that was our trip in Galveston. And from there we went to Terlingua. For those of you that don't know where Terlingua is, it is literally in the middle of nowhere. It is pretty much on the border with Mexico. I think it's about maybe an hour away. No, actually it's closer. It's way closer. Depending on where you want to cross, it's closer. Like you can look at Mexico at some points from certain areas. But we went there and we spent some time in a B&B and it was really nice setup. We had the whole we had like 3 different courtyards. It had hammocks, it had all kinds of beautiful stuff. It had an outdoor shower, which was freezing, by the way. It had like an outdoor bed so you could lay in the bed and look at the stars at night, and there were so many stars, you guys. I don't know if you've ever been to a place that doesn't have much light pollution, but there were so many stars. It was absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. And we actually were able to sleep with like our because it's like a little cabin kind of scenario, like a little adobe cabin. So we slept with the door open. It had a screen door on it, and we would just have all the windows open so there was cross ventilation because it wasn't that hot, and that was really nice. So we just hung out there, and essentially at night we would open, like we would always have the windows open, but we, you know, at night it was, you would see all this moonlight and you would see all the stars, and you wouldn't even really need a flashlight to go outside. And this is me, I'm terrified of snakes, okay? And even I didn't really need a flashlight to go outside. But the first night we were there, it was kind of funny because you could hear the coyotes. Like they were on something, they had something. And Anthony and I kind of woke up because we're not used to hearing that. And he's like, what is that? You know, and it's coyotes. They're hunting. They found something. They're, you know, they're really, really close, but they're not going to bother us. And that's, you know, they were probably, I don't know, half a mile from where we were, like if that far. They were really close. And it was really just awesome to hear because, you know, you don't have that in the city usually. You especially don't have it in New Orleans. So just kind of getting back to that, because we've been camping before and we've heard wolves. We've listened to the wolves, you know, cry at night and howl and kind of give you a lullaby to go to sleep. And while coyotes do not sound as graceful as wolves, it was definitely, you know, it was an experience. It was really nice. I wasn't afraid. I felt very comfortable there. And we did a ton of hiking. Like, if you guys like to hike, I cannot recommend Big Bend enough. I do recommend you go during the height of tourist season, however, which is going to be probably December. You want to go either in the winter, which it does snow, so be mindful of that. You're going to want to go in the winter, or you're going to want to go in the spring, because it gets very hot during the summer, but it also gets cold and comfortable during the spring. So I think the high was probably 80 when we were there, and it got very cold at night. I mean, we would need extra blankets and stuff. I think it dropped into like the 40s on average. So it was definitely an experience. It was a lot of fun. And there's so much hiking. I mean, Big Bend, there's a state park, there's a national park. We only went to the national park again. We were supposed to adventure into the state park, but we just didn't have time. There was just so much. It was awesome. There's miles and miles of trails. You can go kayaking if you want to do that. We went on a couple of trails. I had to do shorter trails because my legs were really, really bothering me. I've been having trouble. It's just pain. It's pain in my knees, and I'm worried. For me, it's probably a running injury that wasn't properly addressed, and I am overweight, so that's just adding more pressure to those joints. And it gets very difficult to sleep. It gets difficult to walk sometimes. Even sitting can cause trouble. So I had to go really easy with the hiking, and I felt really bad. But we were able to get some hikes in, and Anthony did not complain. He understood. We went hikes. We would take days off if we needed to. And it was pretty cool because we went to the place called the Chimneys, which was probably the biggest hike that we actually took this year. Now, the Chimneys is about 2 miles out, one direction. And at the very end, there's petroglyphs, and I really wanted to see these petroglyphs. So we're walking, we're, you know, checking things out, and of course at the trailhead, there's the warnings for the snakes, because of course there's rattlesnakes out in the desert. Like, that wasn't surprising. But what concerned me a bit was that there was also a warning for mountain lions, which confused me because when you pull up to the trailhead for the chimneys, there's really not much there that you would think would be for mountain lions. Like, it's pretty flat. And mountain lions, and as far as I understand, mountain lions, you know, prefer more mountainy, rocky areas. But what do I know? Like, you know, it says there's possibly mountain lions, so we should keep an eye out. And we're walking, we're having a good time. My legs are doing okay because I took a ton of ibuprofen. And it was really pleasant. It wasn't a problem. What started to concern me was we finally realized where the chimneys were, and we're walking and I have to go uphill. And when I walk and have the most trouble, it's when I'm going uphill. But I was determined. I climbed my little butt up this mountain, which wasn't really bad in all, you know, fairness. It really wasn't that bad. For a normal person that doesn't have knee issues, like, you would be up there in 2 seconds. And I managed to get up there, and we're looking around, and across from us there's another little range. And we had seen what looked like hiking trails up there, so our interest was piqued. And I'm thinking, if I get up there, I'm gonna have trouble getting back down, but I really kind of want to see what's in it, you know? Like, I want to see what's over there because it's pretty cool, you know? I know there's no other petroglyphs over there, but it just looks pretty neat. And Anthony decided he would go check it out and he would let me know. Well, you know, the chimneys themselves are mountains. There's a very, like, you're walking this long flat trail and there's a very tiny little strip of mountain range. That's where the mountain lions are gonna freaking be. So I'm getting nervous at the idea of him going by himself because mountain lions are ambush predators. They're going to be hiding where you don't see them. They're going to be watching you. And before you know it, you're gonna have a mountain lion on your back and it's going to be trying to eat your face. You know, it's gonna be like biting you from behind. It doesn't matter if you have bear spray. We had bear spray, but it doesn't matter if you have it because it's just gonna be ambushing you from behind and you'll probably end up dropping it. So I'm watching him, I'm freaking out a little bit because I can see the caves. I can see these little caves appearing and I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna go in them. He's gonna go in them and he's gonna get bitten by a mountain lion, he's gonna get ambushed, and that's gonna be it. He's gonna be missing 411, case like 92 or something. And I just, like, I was nervous, but I didn't make him come back down. And luckily, he was smart enough not to go into the caves. He actually came down pretty quick because he said that, like, you know, he realized he was adventurous, but he was also intelligent enough to see that was not a smart move. So his intelligence outweighed his bravery, luckily. Because he had the keys. So, like, what the hell am I gonna do? He's got the bear spray, he's got the car keys, like, I'm not gonna have anything. But yeah, it was pretty funny. And so we did a lot of hiking though, and we would take days off whenever my legs just would not cooperate. And it just kind of went from there. So it was really lovely. I had a really good time and we loved it so much we decided we were going to buy property there. So we did a thing. We bought property out in Texas. It's just 10 acres of pretty much vacant land. There's no utilities really, nothing like that. But, you know, we're hoping to make it like a retirement home and a project until that point. And we're really excited because it's in the middle of nowhere. No utilities but a phone line and possibly internet is what we were told. And, like, we're gonna have to clear the land. We're gonna have to figure out how to get water out there. We're gonna have all this stuff and it's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited to get started on it. And I know a lot of people are gonna think I'm crazy. We did go out with a realtor. I wanna put that out there. If you plan on buying land in Texas, please go with a realtor. Go take a look at your land and just take note that there's a lot of scams going on, especially with West Texas land purchasing. So go take a look at what you're buying, go with a reputable realtor, and know that if you're going to buy land in Texas, from what I understand, 90% of the time it's going to not be financed. You're going to have to pay in cash, which is exactly what we did. So yeah, we are excited though to get started on it, and we're going to begin the process next year. We have closing in May. So we're like making plans on how to get, you know, a building or a structure out there for us to live on and all that good stuff. So I have a sort of a very faint gradient. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but I have a very light purple around the flowers, and then I have a darker purple kind of in this area. I'm going to be adding some blue to the very edges. I want to almost give the flowers like a glow appearance, like kind of like a glowing kind of thing, because that's just what I do. But first, I am having really shaky hands, so I'm going to take a break and go get some lunch and come back and tell you more about the property and about all the pictures we took and about some hikes and the rest of our vacation. Okay guys, so first off, you're going to hear my cat eating right next to me, and I apologize, but this is also her room. But on top of that, I went ahead and colored in the rest of the image with the purple, just because it literally took me like 2 hours to do it, and you could kind of tell at the end I was getting frustrated because I just started, you could see the pencil hash marks. But I figured what this is really about is the watercolor and how it's going to react when I put the water on it. So I just figured I would return to the color and chat, add a little bit of the blue, and get to painting. So what I'm gonna probably do is just add the blues down here and probably at the very top, just to kind of give it some depth. So hopefully this doesn't go poorly. We'll start over here where I kind of went, well, no, we'll start over here since I'm left-handed, but anyway, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, we were discussing, or I was letting you guys know about the land that I bought, or my husband and I bought, I should say. I kind of knew it was coming because he's been talking about retirement pretty much non-stop. I think it's kind of how he gets through his days by, you know, imagining his life after the military. So I knew he'd mentioned it before, and we've always wanted to kind of have like a really secluded place to go once he's done with the military. And I had this feeling, I just knew we were going to end up buying land when we went to Terlingua. Like, I knew that was what was going to happen, and I was kind of prepared for it. Even though he insists that he had no idea he was going to do it, I kind of figured it was coming. So what we did was we met with the realtor pretty much the day we were leaving. We fell in love with Big Ben the first time we went, and then after that, we, you know, on our second time out, we knew it was going to be that, you know, we kind of knew. And he insists he did it, but I did, because I guess I'm just more attuned to that sort of thing. I kind of know what he's going to do before he does sometimes. So it wasn't a big surprise, and we met with the realtor literally the day we were leaving. She squeezed us in, and it's a place called Terlingua Ranch. It's 10 acres, and it's, like I said, there's no utilities, there's no water, there's no electricity. It's pretty much a vacant desert lot that you can do whatever you want with. And we plan on bringing in water. Like, we plan to haul our water. We've accepted the fact that we cannot afford to dig a well, but if we haul water, that should be doable. We can get a truck, or maybe there's a hauling service out there. We have to do a little bit more research into that, because I've heard there actually isn't a hauling service, which seems weird to me, but that information is pretty old. So, you know, who knows? There might be one now. And we're also going to be building our own little cabin, like doing a little bit of work every time we go out there. We're thinking maybe like an adobe house, like the one we stayed in for the B&B. That was pretty cool. And we're kind of just planning on something along those lines. Like, I don't think it'll be extravagant. We're gonna have solar power because it's the desert, so, you know, solar power is a pretty good idea. We're also going to have rain catchments, because when it does rain, it freaking rains, you know. Now, I've also heard that it snows there. I've seen images of people shared with us, like locals shared with us, of the snow and the hail and things like that. So you do get weather down there, it's just not frequent, so you can't rely only on, you know, rainwater for your water source. And our land, the reason we picked it is it actually it holds a bit of water. Now that might not sound like a good thing, especially to people that, you know, live in New Orleans. That's not a good thing. That's really dangerous. However, we are pretty comfortable with that fact because one, it gave us a lot of privacy in the like brush that grew on part of our land. And originally I didn't even want the plot we ended up buying because it was just so vegetated. Like there were so many bushes. It was like we were gonna have to spend months digging out all these bushes and stuff, and I didn't really want to put in that kind of work. But they said, you know, that's just this part of it. Let us drive you to the other side of your acreage and you'll see that the water collects in part of your acreage but not all of it. So you can build on the higher ground and then you'll be fine to like proceed and just like, you know, do whatever with the other part. So we went and we looked at the acreage that holds the water. Like there's not a pond there, but you can clearly see there's like a little bit of a creek bed in that acreage. So we looked at that, and then I was really disappointed because on that area you couldn't see the wonderful mountains. Our property is surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, which I just think is the neatest thing. They're beautiful to look at. And by the way, you guys, if you've never been to the desert and you've never seen the mountains in the desert, they change colors and it is beautiful. So I was really disappointed that I couldn't see the mountains from this side with all the vegetation. But when they took us to the opposite end where we plan to now build, it's completely clear. You can see everything. You are on a little bit of a higher elevation, so all the water runs down towards that little creek bed. And that's actually a good thing, because what I'm hoping to be able to do is oh, I'm throwing pencils, Jesus. I'm hoping to actually be able to use the fact that there is water on this land to my benefit. I love to garden, and I think that would be a really good way to just kind of use the natural resources of rain and things like that when it's available to, say, water some, you know, berry plants or some tomatoes or whatever I decide to try and grow. Just use the natural cycle of the rain, use the natural layout of the land, kind of choose where you set things up based on what's already available. And I think it'll be really successful. So I'm excited, and I'm really glad we went with that plot of land because my first instinct was no, I don't want this piece, you know. You want to go out, Fox? Okay, hold on, you guys. I gotta let my fox out. Go on. Go. Go lay down. Okay. She just like was not gonna stop if I didn't let her out. So I'm really excited for the land that we did get, because the other piece that we were looking at that was available was very flat, very empty, and it would have been good to build on, but it would just be boring. So I was super excited for the land we got, even though everybody that I've known has told me that I'm insane for buying it, but I've done crazier things, I guess. So that's probably the highlight of my trip. And now I'm really nervous because we're gonna start adding water to this. I guess I'm concerned this is not obviously watercolor paper. So I'm concerned that if I wet my brush too much, I'm gonna have to use a larger brush than my last time. I'm just concerned that it's not gonna hold the paint or the color, and it's just gonna push it around the page. And I really wanna keep the nice details of like the lighter colors and then the darker colors. But we gotta try it, and we gotta let it completely dry, and I've gotta let you guys know how it looks. So we're just gonna dive in and hope for the best. I'm so nervous. That's actually a pretty cool mix. I kind of like the fact that it's like all blue and purple. And I don't think I really want to go too crazy with like the water. I think I just want it to like be damp and kind of blend. You know, I don't want it to get diluted. So I'm putting more water on my brush, and I'm just kind of going for it, I guess. It's hard to do with these brushes because they hold onto water. Like, these are made for watercolor. And I'm trying not to go too terribly hard with the water because I know these books don't like it because they're not watercolor. You know, it's understandable. They handle it fairly well, but like this image here, as soon as I put water on it, I'm not going to be able to color anything on the other side. I think it's looking pretty good. I also think it's adding a little bit more detail to the strokes of the pencil that I don't really care for, but I'm wondering if I should have used a bigger brush. Because on here it's not really moving much, whereas on the watercolor paper I could move it around. So it's interesting the way it reacts differently to different mediums, you know what I mean? Because this, you know, I'm just dampening it and it's adding some detail, yeah. But it's not like, it's not acting the same. And it's, I don't know if I'm disappointed or happy that it's doing that. I think it's okay. Yeah, okay, there we go. I think I just need to kind of give it some more time to push around on the brush because this is looking beautiful. I need to get on the darker areas and you can get more of a glow in certain spots. There we go, okay. I like it. I mean, my picture may not be the most beautiful thing in the world, but I'm gonna level with you. I was really tired when I started this picture and I'm doing the best I can. Okay, so back to the chatting. We're gonna do, I knew that once I started putting water on the page, I was gonna have to do all of it at once. That's why I colored ahead. And I figured you guys would be more interested in seeing how the watercolor, like the water actually reacts with it than anything else. But once you start, it's gonna start to buckle. I can already see it happening. So I need to finish, you know, painting it. So I couldn't do like, I was originally gonna have one section done and then move on to the next section, maybe off camera, but that's not gonna work. We have to do all of it at once. At least that's my theory. But yeah, so there was another part of my vacation that was also nice. We went up to Glen Rose and we stayed at a bed and breakfast. It was very pleasant. New owners have a place called Inn on the River and it is beautiful. They were very nice. I felt very much at home with them. Very laid back people, very active in their community down there. When the issue happened with the cold snap that basically sapped power, they were making meals, they were like harboring people. I mean, they were really going above and beyond, and they were really, like, the owner is on site, she's super sweet, and they're fixing it up and doing a great job. So we stayed there and it was very chill. We were gonna go do some more hiking and do some more like exploration of, they have like dinosaur footprints and stuff like that in a park there. We were originally going there for that, but we were so tired after Big Bend. It was so calm by the river and at the end that we were like, you know what, we're just gonna hang here. There's no reason to go like kill ourselves, let's just chill. And that's exactly what we did. We spent the entire time like wandering around the town and just hanging out, you know, enjoying each other's company, enjoying the inn. I highly recommend anybody in the area, or anybody looking for a place kind of like North Texas to head. It's a very, very nice little inn. It's called Inn on the River, and they're very cool people there. Very laid back. So I highly recommend that. And I think I had like, there's a place, what was it called? It's like an old-fashioned soda shop there, okay? And I discovered they had something called a banana pudding milkshake. Oh my god, you guys, that is legit. It is so good. And it's like one of those old-fashioned soda shops. Like, you can obviously, you know, go outside or carry it out. They'll make it for you. You can just go on your way. Or you can sit at like a little tabletop bar and you can, you know, have fun there and talk to the people, which is what we did most days. And get some insights on other stuff to do that you may not know is in the area because it's not as touristy, you know? So it was a lot of fun, and they have candy, they have all kinds of things in that little shop. And there's other places, other small shops popping up everywhere and small restaurants. There was Sugar Biscuits, I think it was called. They are legit. Like, they have, I had a weird pimento cheese sandwich and chicken salad sandwich combination. I don't know. I didn't even know if I liked pimento cheese, but everybody was raving about this so much that I had to try it. That was good. I wouldn't like pimento cheese on its own. It would have to be with something. But like the chicken salad toned it down enough that it was doable for me. And it was like really yummy, you guys. And she made the best soup. It was chicken and dumpling soup, and oh my goodness, it was so good. I don't know that I've had chicken and dumpling soup that good in a very long time. So highly recommend if anybody is in the area or looking for a place in North Texas to go hang out for a weekend or just visit and see what it's like. Glen Rose is a cute little place. The town seems to be very laid back and very accustomed to tourists. You can go look at like dinosaur footprints if you want to, but there's so much more to do. Even in that tiny little town square, it seems like perfect. So that's what we spent our time doing there. The entire trip was about 2 weeks, and it was much needed because I was about to have a breakdown at work and I'd only been there for 4 months. But I went back last week and things were fine. It was more of the same. I think my biggest issue, to be honest with everybody, I'm just not a 9-to-5 kind of person. I get bored very easily if I'm not challenged, if I'm not like passionate about what I'm doing. Odds are I'm gonna get bored and want to wander away and just kind of sit or find something else to do. And I found that that's kind of happening again. So that's not a good thing, but you know, it pays the bills, and I've got that land in Texas, so I've got a reason to keep working now, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. I get so like distracted with life. I'm one of those people that if I'm at work and I'm not actively like working on something and I get a second to be bored, one, it's hard for me to kind of put myself back in a workspace. But two, like I will see a bird outside and just kind of like want to wander outside and hey, let's go follow that bird and see where it's going. Like I will do anything but work. And that's kind of a bad thing to say and admit online, but you know what? I've complained enough that they know that I'm not challenged there. So that's just me being me. Like it's me as a person. That's how I get. So I'm gonna add more water because I feel like if I add more water, I get more of the mystical watercolory look I like. And you lose a lot more of the pencil strokes, so I like that a lot too. I don't necessarily want it to look like it's been done in pencil. So I'm trying to go through and maybe thicken the water a bit here. It's handling the water pretty well today. I think maybe when I did the watercolor last time in the ocean book, what's it called? Lost Ocean? I think maybe I just went too heavy on the water too fast and it couldn't handle it. Because it did buckle a bit. And this is not the happiest paper in the whole wide world, but it's not, you know, it's not unworkable. I'll be able to go back in and do more with it later if I want. So I'm kind of trying just to go against the grain to kind of bleed out some of these pencil strokes because Now it's starting not to like it, but that's okay. There we go. That looks a little better. I like it. It's got the very much of the, oh, I can't even freaking talk. Good Lord. I need to go to bed is what I need to do. It has almost like a mystical quality to it now. That's what I was trying to say. And that's what I like. And see, this is working so much better. I love it. I was afraid that with it being the coloring book and without that textured paper to kind of grab onto, it was going to behave totally different. And it is, but it's not in a bad kind of different, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think if anything else has really happened. My life has been boring lately, and that's okay. I don't need excitement all the time. I just need, you know, consistency for me is a lot better than surprises around every corner. I don't do well with surprises. I get very stressed out when, you know, life is nothing but one big surprise. I don't like that. So it's been really pleasant. I hope you guys have been good too. I've been talking a lot about me and my vacation, but if you guys have something you'd like to chime in, or hey, even if you've used these pencils or used watercolor pencils in general, you should let me know how they worked for you and how you liked them. I know some people use like watercolor pens, I think is what they're called. Like the weird watercolor pen thingies where you don't use a brush, you use like the pen for the water, that thing. A lot of people, I've seen people use those before, and I'm not sure how I feel about those. I've never tried them, but there's just something about not having the brush in my hand that I don't know that I would like. And I mean, yeah, you wouldn't have to keep dipping in water like I'm doing, but I kind of like the unevenness of it and the little blooms I get. Like, for this kind of picture, the blooms would look really nice. I'm not going to do them, at the moment at least, because I think it would do more harm to the paper than good. Because usually what you would have to do is, like, for watercolor blooms, is you would wet the paper. You would give it a few minutes to start drying, and then you would, like, add more water to certain spots and kind of, like, splash it across so that it would, you know, the paint would be pushed away and it would basically bloom, is what they call it. And I don't think I could do that with this very well, but I might try it later. We'll see. We'll see how adventurous I feel. Because I'm really enjoying this right here. I probably could have pushed the colors a lot more, but I haven't. Like, I probably could have really done some dark purple in there, but I kind of like it how it is. I didn't want to make it, like, too dark in the background. Maybe I could add more blue. There's, like, somebody, I think it's my husband, actually. They're out on the porch, and or out in front of the apartment, and they're talking, so I don't know if you guys can hear that, and if you can, I might have to voice this over, because it's really annoying. I see someone pacing back and forth in front of my window, so I really hope that's my husband and not like some creepy prowler or something. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we got back in about Tuesday, I want to say. We had some nasty storms come in. They were bad. It was nice because I haven't had a nice storm in a really long time. So on the one hand, it was kind of nice. But on the other hand, it was 3 in the freaking morning. I had work the next day. And the only thing I'm doing is laying in bed going, I need to check on the car. I need to check and make sure that my car's not flooding. I need to get up. I need to go look and make sure that my car is not flooding. Like, I was so convinced we were going to lose another car to a damn flood. And I just sat there. Like, I couldn't go back to sleep, and the lightning was horrible. And I'm thinking, we're going to lose power. We're going to lose power, and my car's going to flood. Because I'm just full of positivity. But I was so scared that that was going to happen, and it didn't. We didn't flood, which was really surprising to me, because I did get up and check at one point. We did not flood, and we didn't lose power, and that was probably the most surprising, because we lose power whenever the freaking wind blows. And there was like tornado weather, okay? So yeah, there were like actually tornadoes and shit, and stuff. Sorry guys, sorry, I'm trying not to do that anymore, but it's hard. I sometimes let it slip. Anyway, so there was actually like, you know, really bad stuff, and we didn't even lose power. So I'm really thankful that we didn't. But there was more storms like 2 days ago, and they were tearing down I-10 apparently after they hit us, but it was so bad. I'm assuming there must have been a tornado, because I know there was a casualty. A tree had actually fallen on a man's house and killed him, and that's really, really sad. But I don't know where it came from, because they just kind of popped up out of nowhere. So I think we need to keep an eye out on the weather reports, and I'm hoping it's not a sign of like more to come this summer, as far as like, you know, maybe hurricanes and stuff like that goes. Not that I would necessarily mind, but you know, I don't want anybody to get hurt either. That's my thing. Like, I don't know. So yeah, we've had some nasty weather, and luckily we did not flood, we didn't lose power, we were very fortunate. I just wish other people could have been as fortunate too. I'm also working on a lot of art stuff. Lately I've been having trouble doing coloring book stuff, because I've wanted to do my own art stuff. And I know Mermay is coming up, so I do want to let everybody know that during Mermay, my attention's more or less going to be on original art, most likely. So I'm trying to do coloring book stuff, but it's also going to be very, very original art heavy for a bit here. And maybe that's not a bad thing. I'm hoping to be able to do more things with, like, I don't know, I would like to really get a coloring book or a coloring page out for you guys. I have so many things I want to do, and I just don't have time for, or I get distracted, so I'm trying my best. And I'm hoping I'll be able to use these some more in the future, because I really like how this is turning out. What do you guys think? Do you like the colors I managed to get? I might have to make a part 2 and actually go in with like the dry pencils and not use watercolor and just color on the insides with you guys, because I really like this background. I wonder if I can. I don't think that this will do the blooms, because I think it's just too... Let's see if it'll drop. No, it's not going to do it. I need to pick that up actually. And I don't have a... I'll just use this. There. Yeah, so it's not going to do the blooms like regular watercolor would, because it's not actually paint. Basically what this is just you color it, you blend it, and it looks kind of like paint, but you can still in some areas see the texture from like the pencils, but I don't mind that. I kind of like it. So they definitely have a place, and I'm really, really excited to have bought these. These were a super good deal. If anybody else likes to watercolor, or they like to do watercolor pencils, if you have a Michaels near you, I highly recommend going to check them out and seeing if you can find them on clearance, because this is definitely worth, in my opinion, the $40. They're the Caran 30 color Supra soft watercolor pencils, and I love them. This alone makes me love them. Totally worth the investment. I think I will wait and do a part 2 with you guys next week. What I'm going to do for now is let this dry completely, and I'll come back and we'll take a final look. We'll see how Johanna's book handled all the water that I put on this, because it was a little bit more than I was hoping to put on there. But we'll take a look at everything together, and then we will, you know, make the final decision on whether or not you guys want to see more next week, or if I'm just going to put it on Instagram. And yeah, so we will go from there. So I'm gonna stop messing with it, I'm gonna put my brush down, and we're going to see how badly or if the paper starts to warp. Okay, so it is time for final thoughts for the Caran 30 set of the Super Soft pencils. I do like the way this came out. It came out better than I thought it was going to, and I think if I really pushed and if I used a few different colors, I could have really built up some amazing contrast in the background image here. But for a test run, I think it looks really cute. I think it has the really, you know, pale glow around the petals that I was looking for, and I think it just looks pretty. I was really surprised. It didn't push the pencil and the color around the paper as much as I suspected it would. It actually held on to the color fairly well, and I'm just overall impressed. I really, really love these pencils, and I'm really glad I bought them because I almost didn't. But for anybody else that's interested in just doing like watercolor art and you want to play with the pencils, or if you want to have something a little simpler and easier on your sketchbooks and your coloring books to have a watercolor texture without soaking it through, these turned out to be a really good investment, because the page, it is a little bit buckled, but it's not unbearable. For example, the page on the back, I would still be able to color this page. The last time I did a Johanna Basford book with watercolor, it was too saturated, so I wouldn't have been able to do anything with it. But with this, I can go over it with a pen, I could do markers, I could do like regular polychromos pencils, and it would probably be fine. The only thing I wouldn't be able to do on this is like an acrylic, a heavy paint, or another watercolor. But this is still a usable page. So I think these are definitely going to work their way into my arsenal. I love having a background like this. I've never been one that's really experimented with distressed inks and things along those lines, but I think you can get a very similar result with these pencils if you have some patience. As you guys know, patience is a big issue of mine, as clearly demonstrated above here, but I think if I just put a little more time into relaxing with it, it can really be a wonderful result. And I know many of you have loads of patience and you're extremely skilled, and you would probably have a lot of fun with these too. So again, these are the Caran they're the 30 Supracolor soft watercolor pencils. I got them for 40 bucks, which is like half off on clearance at Michael's. You might want to check out your local store. Highly recommend them. They're fun to use even if you're not going to put water on them. It's just fun. I love pencils, so I mean, what can I say? But this is just my opinion. If you disagree, let me know down in the comments why. Let me know if there's other brands that you prefer, and if you love them also, let me know. You can even post some pictures or links to your pictures or whatever you want to do. I'd love to see your work. I'd love to have you guys share that with me. But as it is, we're going to go on with the part 2, where I'm going to finish up this image next week with probably just the dry pencils for the Super Soft. And for now, we're going to leave it as is. We're going to give it a break. We're going to come back and chill next week. I hope to see you then, and thank you so much for giving me your time. I really appreciate hanging out with you guys. Have a safe week, have a good week, and I hope to see you next time.